Saw the door in Diddy's mansion that Jaguar Wright warned me about, the one nobody leaves alive. It sounds like some twisted story, right? Like something straight out of a horror movie. But trust me, this isn't a joke. What I saw behind that door, it's something I can't unsee. Jaguar tried to stop me. She warned me, but I didn't listen. And now? Now, I wish I could forget, but I can't. It's with me every day. It's always there. I wasn't anyone special, just a regular person, not in the celebrity world. But curiosity about the secrets behind the fame led me to accept an invite from Jaguar Wright to Diddy's mansion. Jaguar wasn't just an artist, she knew the darkness behind the glamour, and I wanted to see it too. This happened in 2019. I wasn't expecting anything out of the ordinary. I figured it was just gonna be another fancy event, one where everyone was trying to show off their latest achievements or their latest fashion. I thought I'd get lost in the crowd of Hollywood elite, act like I fit in, and forget about it all once the night was over. But I was wrong. I didn't know it then, but that was the night everything changed. That was the night I saw the door. The first thing that struck me when I got to Diddy's mansion was the size. It was massive. I've been to fancy places before, but this was on another level. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, everything is perfect. But as soon as I stepped inside, I felt it. The air was thick, like it was holding something back, like the house itself had a secret it didn't want to share. I tried to ignore it, focusing on the lavish surroundings, the famous faces that drifted through the house, but the feeling wouldn't leave. Jaguar was already there when I arrived, looking as calm and confident as ever. She had a way of making even the most awkward situations seem effortless. But tonight, she didn't seem entirely herself. I could see the tension in her body language, the way she kept glancing around the room like she was looking for someone or something. I tried to shake off my discomfort and told myself it was just nerves. But the feeling lingered. Something wasn't right. As Jaguar and I made our way through the crowd, I noticed something else. The people in the room weren't acting the way I expected. They were polite, sure, but there was something detached about them. No one was genuinely laughing or talking. It was all surface-level pleasantries, as if everyone was going through the motions, but no one was really there. It wasn't like the parties I'd seen in movies, with people enjoying themselves, letting their guards down. This felt different, like everyone was just playing their part. We didn't stay in one area for long. Jaguar led me from group to group, introducing me to people whose names I recognized, but faces I didn't. They gave me nods of acknowledgement, but no one seemed particularly interested in actually talking to me. I could feel it, the distance. I wasn't part of this world, and it was painfully obvious. But then something happened. I'm not sure when exactly it started, but it was subtle at first. I noticed that a few people seemed to be avoiding certain parts of the mansion. They'd glance at the hallway in the distance, where a single door stood closed, but their gaze would quickly shift away, like they were trying to ignore it. I saw one of the staff members walk by, his eyes darting toward the same door, and then quickly look in the opposite direction, as if he had just seen something he wasn't supposed to see. I thought I imagined it, but when I saw Jaguar look over at the door with an expression I couldn't quite place, part fear, part something else, I knew something was wrong. That was when I asked her. I shouldn't have, but I did. "What's behind that door?" I asked casually, trying to brush it off like it was nothing, but the second the words left my mouth, the room seemed to shift. People's eyes snapped to me, and the energy in the room changed. It was like everyone collectively held their breath. There was a hush, a pause, a stillness that I couldn't quite explain. Jaguar's smile tightened, and she took a deep breath, her eyes flicking nervously toward the door. "Don't go near it," she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. "And don't ask about it. Nobody does. It's not for you." I should have listened to her. I should have backed off right then and there. But I didn't. The question burned in my mind. What was behind that door? Why were people avoiding it? Why was Jaguar so protective of it? Before I could respond, she turned away, pulling me deeper into the crowd. But I kept glancing back at that door. The more I tried to ignore it, the more it seemed to pull me in. But what happened next took things to a whole new level. When I walked through the gates of Diddy's mansion, I was struck by its sheer size. The driveway stretched for what felt like miles, and when I finally reached the entrance, I felt as though I had just entered another world. Marble pillars flanked the massive front door, which was adorned with gold accents that gleamed even in the dim light of the evening. The mansion was a palace. Everything about it screamed wealth and power. I'd seen it all in the tabloids, of course, the extravagant parties, the gatherings of A-list celebrities, the usual suspects from the entertainment industry. But stepping onto the grounds, seeing the mansion in person, it felt different. It felt like something else. But I tried to ignore that feeling. I didn't come here to dwell on my discomfort. I came to experience it. Jaguar was waiting inside, as I expected. She was standing by the bar, chatting casually with a few people, but when she saw me, her face lit up with that familiar, calm smile. It made me feel like I could belong here, at least for the night. That was one thing I'd always admired about her. She didn't buy into the hype, the game. She was just herself, and somehow, everyone respected that. I walked over to her, trying to blend in, not wanting to look too out of place. The room I entered was exactly what I imagined. A sleek, modern space with art pieces that were probably worth more than my entire life's savings. The lighting was soft, casting an almost hypnotic glow over everything. The music was jazz, low and smooth, blending with the quiet conversations around me. The kind of music that made everything feel effortless. I had to admit, this was impressive. People in the crowd were mingling, some laughing, some sharing stories. But it was all so curated, so controlled. No one seemed overly loud. There were no wild outbursts or gestures. The guests were the picture of elegance and poise. I felt out of place, not because I didn't fit in, at least I tried to tell myself that, but because something about the entire atmosphere felt too perfect, too manufactured. The way the people moved, the way they stood, there was a kind of precision to it, as if everyone knew exactly where to stand, what to say, what to wear, and how to act. It was all so polished. Jaguar noticed my hesitation, a slight flicker of concern crossing her face, but she hid it quickly, offering me a drink with a casual wave. "Relax," she said, her voice light, almost teasing. "Take it all in. You're with me." I nodded, grateful for her presence. She was like an anchor in this sea of luxury and excess. But even as I took a sip from my glass, the feeling in my chest didn't settle. I couldn't shake it, the unease. Something about the mansion, about the guests, felt off. It was subtle at first, a tightness in the air that I couldn't explain. It wasn't the kind of discomfort you feel when you don't belong. It was something deeper. As Jaguar and I moved further into the crowd, I couldn't help but notice the people around me. Their smiles were perfect, too perfect. Their laughs, smooth and measured. It wasn't real. It was as if they were all playing a part in some strange performance. No one was really here. They were all just going through the motions. They spoke in carefully calibrated tones, asking the right questions, making the right comments. They all had this look in their eyes, like they were waiting for something, watching, but not really seeing. I turned my attention back to Jaguar. She was talking to a couple near the bar, but there was something different about her tonight. She wasn't her usual unflappable self. Her eyes were darting around the room more than usual, almost as if she were looking for something or someone. It made me uneasy, but she didn't show it. She smiled, nodded, and kept the conversation going, her voice steady, like nothing was out of place. I tried to shake off the feeling. Maybe it was just nerves. After all, it was my first time in a mansion like this. But I couldn't deny it. The whole place felt like it was hiding something. Like there was something just beneath the surface, pulling at the edges of the room, of the people, of everything. And as we continued through the house, the sense of being watched intensified. It wasn't overt. It wasn't in the way people were staring at me. No, it was subtler than that. It was in the way the room felt. The way it seemed to tighten every time I walked through it. There were moments when the chatter around me would fade, and all I could hear was the soft thrum of the music and the whispers just out of reach. And then, as I was passing through a hallway, I saw something that sent a chill through me. There was a door. It wasn't like the other doors in the house. It wasn't grand, with gold handles or finely crafted wood. It was simple, almost hidden in plain sight, tucked away at the end of the hallway. The lighting around it felt dimmer, darker, as if the door itself was pulling the light into it, absorbing it. I couldn't explain why, but I was drawn to it. It wasn't just curiosity, it was something else. It felt like I needed to know what was behind it. But just as I took a step closer, I felt a hand on my shoulder. It was Jaguar's. Her grip was tight, her touch almost urgent. "No," she said quietly. "Don't go near it." I looked at her, confusion washing over me. "What's wrong? Why can't I go there?" Jaguar didn't answer immediately. She stared at the door for a moment, her gaze narrowing. Then, with a heavy sigh, she turned back to me. "Just don't. I've told you before. It's not for you. It's not for anyone." I opened my mouth to ask her what she meant, but she cut me off before I could speak. "Please, let's go," she urged, her voice almost pleading now. "Forget about it." There was something in her tone, something raw, something terrified, and it sent a chill running down my spine. This wasn't a joke. Jaguar wasn't messing around. There was something behind that door, and whatever it wasn't meant to be seen. But that didn't stop the gnawing feeling inside me. The door was still there, still waiting. And the longer I looked at it, the more I couldn't ignore the feeling that I had to know what was behind it. But what happened next took things to a whole new level. By the time I had taken my third drink, I was starting to lose track of the time. Not because I was drunk, far from it. The mansion, with its opulence, made it feel like the kind of place where time didn't matter. The evening stretched on in a strange, elastic way. The people around me continued to mingle, but the energy was starting to shift. I could feel it in the air, in the conversations, in the way people were standing a little too still or speaking just a little too quietly. Jaguar kept her distance from me as the night wore on, as if she didn't want to get too involved in the social games happening around us. She'd always been different from the other celebrities I'd met. More grounded, more real, but tonight, she seemed preoccupied, her movements stiff and her gaze distant, like she was keeping an eye on something or someone. I tried to shake off the feeling of unease, but it was like an itch I couldn't scratch. Every time I tried to focus on something else, my eyes kept drifting back to that door, the one Jaguar had warned me about. The one everyone was avoiding, but no one would talk about. I hadn't even noticed it at first, but now it felt like it was pulling at me, like there was a magnetic force drawing me closer. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I turned my head, the door seemed to be in the corner of my eye, lurking, waiting for me to come back to it. I tried to remind myself that I didn't belong in this world, that this was just another celebrity gathering, just another night of extravagant indulgence. But something in the back of my mind told me this wasn't normal. This wasn't right. Jaguar had disappeared into the crowd, so I was left to my own devices. I wandered through the house, aimlessly at first, until I found myself in another room. A study, I think. It was quieter here, and the furniture was old, like something out of a history book. Leather-bound books lined the shelves, and portraits of forgotten ancestors stared down at me, their eyes lifeless, as though they knew things I didn't. I felt a sense of discomfort rise in my chest, but I told myself it was just nerves. It's just a house, I tried to convince myself. You're overthinking it. But then I saw him. A man standing across the room, his back turned to me. He was dressed in all black, with an unsettling calmness in the way he stood. At first I thought he was another guest, just another person here to enjoy the party. But then something caught my eye. The way he was standing, the way he was waiting. It wasn't natural. It was like he wasn't even aware of the world around him. I shifted slightly, trying not to stare, but when I looked again, his gaze was on me. His eyes weren't just locked onto me. They pierced me. I felt like I was being scanned, evaluated, in a way that made my skin crawl. I looked away quickly, trying to shake off the feeling, but when I glanced back, he was still looking at me. And I swear to you, it wasn't a normal look. It was as if he wasn't seeing me as a person. He was seeing something else, something that wasn't right. I tried to ignore it, trying to focus on anything else, anything that would make me feel less exposed. But the tension between us lingered. Suddenly, a woman I didn't recognize entered the room, walking briskly toward the man, her eyes never leaving him. She was tall, almost unnaturally so, with sharp features and a cool, composed demeanor. She didn't speak to him, didn't greet him. She simply stood beside him, her eyes flicking to mine for a split second, and then back to the man. I felt it, the change in the air. A sudden, unnerving shift. The temperature in the room dropped, just enough for me to notice. And then, without a word, The man and the woman turned, leaving the room together, as if they had just completed some silent, unspeakable transaction. I was left standing there, feeling more unsettled than ever. I could hear the distant hum of conversation from the other side of the house, but in that moment, I felt completely alone. I tried to shake off the feeling, tried to laugh it off as just another weird moment in a weird night. But it wasn't that simple. I moved toward the door, hoping to find something, someone familiar. I needed to get out of this room, out of this uncomfortable space. I needed to see Jaguar again, hear her voice, to feel some normalcy. But as I passed by another hallway, I caught sight of something that stopped me dead in my tracks. The door. It was open now. The door that had been closed and locked for most of the evening. The door Jaguar had warned me about was now wide open, casting a shadow that stretched far beyond its frame. I wasn't supposed to be here. I wasn't supposed to look. But the pull was too strong. I stepped toward it, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the thumping of my own heartbeat, each beat reverberating through my body as I moved closer. The shadows seemed to grow longer, the air thicker. Just as my hand was about to touch the handle, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I froze. Jaguar's voice was a whisper, urgent, barely audible above the noise of the party. "Don't go near it," she said, her voice trembling. She was shaking, not from the cold, but from fear. I told you to stay away from that door." I turned to face her, confusion and anxiety rising in my chest. "Jaguar, what is it? What's behind that door? Why is everyone so afraid of it?" Her eyes darted to the door and then back to me, her face pale, lips trembling. "You don't understand. There are things in that house that no one should ever see. Not you. Not anyone. That door is not for us. Don't make the mistake I made. Stay away." Her words hit me like a wave crashing into me, and I suddenly understood. Not just with my head, but with every fiber of my being. Something was wrong here. Deeply wrong. Jaguar's grip on my shoulder tightened, and she tugged me away from the door, pulling me into the crowd. But as we moved, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed. The house wasn't just a place anymore. It was something alive, something aware, and I was part of it now. But that was just the beginning. The air in the mansion had already felt heavy, but after Jaguar's warning, it was like everything around me was suffocating. The weight of her words settled over me, pulling the air out of my lungs. I couldn't stop thinking about the door. I knew I wasn't supposed to ask questions, but it felt like the more I ignored it, the louder the whispers became, the more real the presence in the house felt. Jaguar kept a firm grip on me, pulling me away from the area around that door. But I couldn't let go of the feeling, the pull, the magnetic energy that had called me to that room. I had to know what was behind it. What was so dangerous that Jaguar, who'd seen it all, was scared to even talk about it? We moved through the crowd, trying to blend in with the other guests, but it was impossible. The tension in the air had only grown thicker. People no longer seemed like themselves. The smiles were forced, the conversations disjointed. I felt like I was walking in a world that wasn't entirely real, as if the house itself had a dark, hidden agenda, and we were all just its puppets. Jaguar led me to a quieter part of the mansion, but I couldn't shake the sense that we weren't alone in the room. Not just because of the people around us, but because of something else. There was a presence, hovering just on the edge of my perception. Something that wasn't there before. Something that felt out of place. I looked at Jaguar, her face pinched with worry, but she said nothing. Her eyes kept darting around as if she were expecting something or someone to appear. I tried to push down the growing anxiety in my chest, but it wouldn't go away. Every minute, the feeling became more and more real, more intense. At some point, Jaguar left my side. She didn't say where she was going, just that she'd be right back. I didn't question it. I figured she was just trying to get away from the chaos. But a part of me felt that she was trying to distance herself from me. That maybe there was something in the air, something she could sense more clearly than I could, that I wasn't supposed to be near. I was standing by myself now, alone in a dimly lit hallway, trying to calm my nerves when I noticed something. A shadow moving in the corner of my eye. It wasn't the light shifting, and it wasn't the people walking past. No, this was something else. This was wrong. I turned, my heart racing, and saw the figure again. The man who had been watching me earlier. He was standing in the shadows just far enough for me to see him, but not enough to make him seem fully real. The first time I saw him, he had been staring at me, those cold, emotionless eyes burning through me. This time, he wasn't just watching me. He was waiting. And I swear to God, his gaze didn't just make me feel watched. It made me feel examined. Like he knew things about me that I didn't even know about myself. I took a step back, instinctively. My skin prickled with the feeling that something was terribly wrong. But then, the unthinkable happened. The man stepped forward, slowly, methodically, as if time had slowed down around him. His movements were deliberate, like a predator closing in on its prey. The moment he moved, I felt the temperature drop, the air around me growing colder. The noise from the party seemed to fade into a dull hum. It was like the walls were closing in, and the room around me felt smaller, suffocating. I couldn't move. I couldn't look away. My legs were frozen, my breath shallow as I tried to make sense of what was happening. The figure's eyes never left me. He moved in silence, but I could feel his presence grow larger, as if he was engulfing the space around me, sucking the very life out of it. The walls were bending, the shadows were deepening. And then, in the most chilling voice I've ever heard, he spoke. "You shouldn't be here," he said, his voice almost a whisper, but loud enough for me to feel the weight of his words in my chest. "This is not your world." It wasn't a threat exactly, but it felt like one. His words were laced with something older, something darker, something that shouldn't exist. "Who are you?" I managed to choke out, my voice trembling, my body screaming at me to move, to run. He didn't answer me. Instead, he turned, his movements fluid, as if he were gliding through the air, and stepped into the shadows, disappearing from view. I stood there, frozen, trying to make sense of what had just happened. My mind raced, trying to connect the dots between this figure and everything that had been happening around me. The door, the people who seemed to know more than they were letting on, the weird energy in the house. It was all connected. But how? What was going on here? What had I walked into? I didn't get much time to think about it. A sudden cold breeze hit me, even though I knew the windows had been shut. It rushed past me, and before I could turn around, I felt a hand on my shoulder, The contact was so sudden, so unnatural, I didn't even have time to react. I jerked away, spinning around to face whoever was behind me. And there, standing in front of me, was Jaguar. But this wasn't the Jaguar I knew. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with terror, her breath coming in short, ragged gasps. She looked like she had seen a ghost, or worse. "They're coming," she whispered, her voice trembling with fear. She grabbed my arm, her fingers digging into my skin. "We need to leave. Now." I shook my head, confused, terrified. "What do you mean? Who's coming?" But she didn't answer me. She pulled me toward the exit, her grip tight, her steps hurried. Her fear was palpable, and I realized then, Jaguar wasn't just trying to get away from the crowd. She was running from something. I couldn't understand. I couldn't understand any of it. What was she so afraid of? What was in this house that terrified her so much? We moved quickly through the mansion, but every step felt heavier, like the air itself was pushing against me. I could feel the tension building, the feeling that something was closing in, but I couldn't see what. Every shadow felt alive. Every corner seemed to hide something waiting to pounce. The mansion wasn't just a place anymore. It had become something else. Something alive. Jaguar stopped abruptly, pulling me to a halt. Her face was drawn, her eyes darting around as if she was looking for someone. Or something. "We need to get out of here," she said again, her voice firm but trembling. "It's too late for me, but you still have a chance. Get out while you can." And that's when I realized Jaguar wasn't just afraid. She was terrified. I didn't understand what she meant, but before I could ask, she pushed me toward the door, her hands shaking as she tried to keep her composure. "Don't go back to that door," she said, her eyes locking onto mine. And for the first time, I saw true fear in them. "I won't be able to save you if you do." But that was just the beginning. I don't remember how much time passed after Jaguar pulled me out of the hallway. It felt like everything around me was moving in slow motion. The rooms, the guests, everything was just a blur. But one thing was clear. The fear, the dread, it was consuming me. It was like I could feel the house breathing. It wasn't just a building anymore. It had become something far darker. Jaguar was no longer leading me. She was holding on to me, her grip tight, her eyes frantic as we rushed through the labyrinth of hallways. There was no clear destination. She wasn't looking for the exit. She wasn't even looking for a door or a window. Her only focus was on getting us as far away from something. Something that I couldn't see but could feel with every step we took. The mansion, with all its elegance and grandeur, felt claustrophobic now. Every corner we turned, every hallway we entered, seemed to twist tighter, like the house itself was contracting. The walls felt like they were leaning in on us, suffocating me. And then, in the midst of the panic, I heard it. It was so faint at first, like a whisper from the farthest corner of the house. It wasn't coming from Jaguar. It wasn't coming from the guests. It was coming from the walls. I froze. It wasn't a voice I recognized. It wasn't a sound I could even identify. But it was there. A low, guttural sound that rattled my bones, sinking into my chest like a weight. It felt wrong. It felt like it didn't belong to this world. "Jaguar." My voice was barely a whisper, but she heard me. She stopped, but she didn't look at me. She was staring straight ahead, her breath shallow, her chest rising and falling quickly. She had heard it too. The whispering grew louder, clearer. It wasn't words at first, just low murmurs, like the sound of something whispering in the dark. But then the whispers turned into something else. They turned into screams. I didn't know if they were real or if they were in my head, but I could feel them pounding in my skull, reverberating through my body. I grabbed Jaguar's arm. "Do you hear that?" I gasped. Jaguar's eyes went wide, but she didn't answer me. She didn't need to. She had heard it too, and she was scared, terrified. Her face was pale, drained of color. She was shaking, not from the cold, but from something deeper, something primal. "Jaguar, what is it? What's happening?" I asked, but she didn't answer me. She only pulled me closer, her grip now hurting, like she was afraid I would vanish if she let go. "Get out," she whispered hoarsely. "It's too late. I can't stop it anymore." Before I could say anything else, the ground beneath us shook. A low, deep vibration spread through the floorboards, like the house itself was waking up. The walls trembled. I could feel the pulse of the mansion, the thrum of its energy coursing through the room. It wasn't like an earthquake. It was something far older than that. Something that had been dormant, waiting for too long. And then I heard it. The door. The one Jaguar had warned me about. It creaked open. The sound was impossible to ignore. It was loud, scraping against the air, a terrible grinding sound. But it wasn't just the door. It was what came after. The thing behind it. I turned toward the hallway where the door stood, wide open now. But I couldn't see anything. It was just darkness. Jaguar's grip on me tightened. She wasn't trying to pull me away anymore. She was holding me, her fingers digging into my skin like she was afraid I would slip away into that darkness. And then I saw it. A shadow. A figure. Standing in the doorway. I couldn't make out its features at first. The darkness swallowed everything in the room. But then the figure stepped forward, and as it moved, I realized something that made my heart stop. It wasn't a person. It was something else, something wrong, something I couldn't explain. It was like it was moving in ways that didn't make sense, like its limbs bent in unnatural angles, like it was too tall for the space it was in. Its skin shimmered. No, not skin. It was like a mass of shadow, a moving, twisting cloud of darkness. It had eyes, but they weren't eyes. They were holes, dark voids that seemed to suck the light from around them. As it moved closer, I felt my body tremble, my legs shaking beneath me. I couldn't breathe. Jaguar backed away, pulling me with her, but we couldn't get far enough. The figure was too close, and its presence was suffocating, filling the hallway, the space, the air. I wanted to run, but I couldn't move. I wanted to scream, but the words wouldn't come. The fear froze me in place. And then, for the first time that night, it spoke. Its voice wasn't a voice at all. It was inside my head, inside my mind. It wasn't a sound. It was a presence, an overwhelming pressure that I could feel deep inside my chest. "You shouldn't have opened the door." The words came through like a whisper, but it wasn't a whisper. Jaguar screamed. It was a primal, desperate sound, and for a split second, I thought it might be my own scream. I thought maybe I had made the noise, maybe I was the one losing my mind. But no, Jaguar was the one screaming, and it was the loudest sound I'd heard since entering that house. But it wasn't enough. The figure didn't move, but I could feel its gaze on me, on us. And the moment it turned toward Jaguar, I realized something that froze me to my core. Jaguar wasn't running. She wasn't trying to escape anymore. She was waiting for it to come closer. And then everything shifted. The air grew heavier, like the very weight of the room was pressing down on us. The walls around us began to crack. The shadows stretched, crawled, and seemed to come alive, crawling toward us from every corner, pulling at our limbs, our bodies. There was no escape. There was only darkness and the door. The thing behind it. Jaguar didn't look at me. She didn't even seem to see me anymore. Her eyes were locked on the figure, on the thing that was slowly, inevitably walking toward us. The terror in her eyes wasn't fear anymore. It was something worse. It was a resignation. And that's when everything changed. The moment the thing moved toward us, everything seemed to collapse in on itself. There was no sound except the pulse of my heartbeat thundering in my ears and my breath, shallow and erratic, struggling to escape my chest. Jaguar's grip tightened around my arm as she pulled me back, but there was no place to go. The hallway was narrow, the walls closing in, and the figure, the thing, was getting closer, its presence filling the entire space. It wasn't moving quickly, but every step it took felt like the seconds stretched into hours, like the distance between us was growing smaller, faster, as if time itself was bending under its weight. My legs wouldn't move. I was rooted to the spot. Not from any rational thought, but from sheer terror. My body had frozen, refusing to cooperate. The fear locked me in place, each second dragging on like an eternity. I could feel the cold sweat creeping down my back, my stomach turning over and over, but my feet remained planted. I tried to scream, to say something, but my throat was tight. My voice lost somewhere deep inside. The words wouldn't come. It felt like I had lost my voice the moment I saw the figure move. Jaguar was the first to break the stillness, her voice a desperate whisper, barely audible. We can't fight this. We can't outrun it. The words made no sense at first. What did she mean? Couldn't fight it? Couldn't outrun it? What was she talking about? I felt like I was drowning in confusion. But then I looked at her face, pale, her eyes wide with the kind of fear I had never seen in her before. It was like she had lost something inside herself. The Jaguar I knew, the one who spoke with such conviction and strength, had disappeared. In her place was a woman whose soul had been shattered by the weight of something unimaginable. She wasn't just afraid anymore. She was broken. The air was thick with dread. I could feel it swirling around us, pushing in, forcing out every ounce of life, every trace of normalcy. And the figure stared at us, its eyes, those hollow, endless voids, burning into my soul. I felt like I was being consumed by them, like they were stripping away my humanity, piece by piece. Jaguar stepped back, pulling me with her, but it didn't matter. There was no running. There was no place to hide. We were trapped in the house. We were trapped in its world now. The moment I opened that door, the moment I looked behind it, I had crossed a line I couldn't uncross. I could feel the presence closing in on us, like a wave about to crash. But instead of moving toward us, The figure paused. It tilted its head, almost as if it was studying us. Then, in a voice that wasn't really a voice at all, but something far worse, something that crawled into your skin and settled deep inside your bones, it spoke. You should not have looked. You should have listened. Its words weren't just heard. They filled my mind, twisting around the deepest corners of my thoughts. It was everywhere. It was in the air, in my body, in my bones. And the moment it spoke, I felt something snap inside of me. The dread, the weight that I had been carrying suddenly broke through like a flood rushing through my veins. I couldn't take it anymore. The pressure was unbearable. Without thinking, I shoved past Jaguar. My body moved on its own, my instincts taking over, my legs propelling me forward. The house was alive, alive in ways that made my skin crawl, and I had to get out. I had to run. Jaguar reached for me, but I was already halfway down the hallway, my pulse racing. My feet didn't stop. I didn't even care if she was with me. I just wanted out. But then, just as I reached for the door at the end of the hallway, it happened. A hand, cold as ice, shot out from behind me. I didn't see it coming. It was like it wasn't even there. Like the air itself had become something else. Something corporeal, something that wasn't human. The fingers curled around my wrist with an iron grip, squeezing until I felt like my bones were gonna break. I whipped around, but there was nothing there. Nothing but the shadows. The hall was empty, yet the pressure on my wrist didn't fade. It only grew stronger. "Jaguar!" I screamed, my voice cracking with panic, but she wasn't there. The hallway was eerily silent. The music from the party, the laughter, the voices, it was all gone. I was alone. Then came the real shock. In the reflection of the hallway mirror across from me, I saw something impossible. The thing that had been standing by the door, it wasn't just standing anymore. It was moving through the mirror, shifting, twisting in a way that made my stomach turn. It was fading in and out, like it was part of the room, part of the shadows, part of the house itself. It was in the glass, but it wasn't. It was looking at me, its empty eyes locked onto mine. I reached out to the mirror. My hand touched the cold glass, and the sensation shot through me. The cold wasn't just on the surface. It penetrated me, sinking deep, like something was pulling at my very soul, stretching me thin. The fear was suffocating, overwhelming. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. I stumbled back, but I couldn't look away. I realized then it was never about the door. The door was just a doorway. The thing wasn't behind it. The door was just a way in. And now, it was part of the house. It was part of me. The hand on my wrist tightened, pulling me toward the mirror, and I screamed, trying to break free, trying to pull away, but it was like the darkness had wrapped around me, tangled in my veins. I don't know how long I stood there, frozen, gasping for air, but when I finally came to my senses, Jaguar was there. She was by my side, her eyes frantic, her voice shaking. "Don't look at it," she begged, pulling me away from the mirror, pulling me back toward the exit, toward the light. "Don't look at it." You can't. You can't unsee it. But it was too late. I had already seen it. I had already felt it. As we rushed toward the door, the house itself, seemed to be alive, the walls trembling, the shadows stretching, chasing us. I thought we'd made it to safety, thought we were finally escaping. But the thing was there. It wasn't just in the house anymore. It was following us. It had entered the world outside the door. And when we made it into the night air, I thought we were free. But I was wrong. Jaguar's face was pale. Her eyes were filled with the same terror I had seen in her earlier. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking past me, towards something I couldn't see. That's when I realized it had followed us. The thing that lived behind the door hadn't just stayed behind it. It had come with us, and it wasn't done. But what happened next took things to a whole new level. I thought walking out of that mansion would mean leaving it all behind. I was wrong. It's still here with me every day. Every shadow I see, every whisper in the dark, it's there. And no matter where I go, it follows. The thing behind that door, it never left. It never will. If I disappear after this, you'll know why. Whatever was behind that door, it's still with me, and it's not done yet.